Then heal me. My health is low. Let me heal. Go. Go, Web, go. Welcome back, everybody, to Space Engineers, where we finally built a medical bay. Only to find out it's not working. Is it not connected to any power? I bet you that is what's going on. Aha. I bet you if I just did... Yeah. That? There we go. That confused me, actually, for a little bit. Okay, I was wondering why this wasn't working. It's like, did medbays break? No, medbays require power. Fool. There we go. So yeah, the reason why he's not physically connected, the only point he's now connected at is between the scaffolding, or catwalk block, and this block here. So what we could also do is do that, which looks a lot better. But this is mostly temporary. And then this stuff is all connected over to here, so it's bringing power over. So we expanded the blast furnaces a little tiny bit. I got all 4 going. Still got to make these refineries, but we don't have the stuff to refine at the moment. And none of our arc furnaces are actually going. Did I name them all properly? I did. So we have A, B, C, D, and they should all be in that group. If we ever want to turn off the conveyors, we can do that. What these guys will be good for is if we're ever producing something and we've run out of like iron, as soon as we introduce iron into the system, these blast/arc furnaces should be able to quickly process that as quickly as the assemblers will need it. So yeah. So that is that. We may have to add another reactor in at some point. I've got them all on, they're not pulling in any stuff, and I just manually put some in. So every once in a while I'm going to have to go and restock them. But the reason I'm doing that is otherwise one reactor is just going to leach all the uranium and keep it for himself, and then the other 2 are going to run dry anyway. So this way I could at this point, now that we have a backlog, I could set it to pull on its own. So here we go, there's all the reactors. And I could, let's just make sure I did get them all. A, B... I don't think we have a C yet, that's why. So all 3 are there. If we wanted to, we could turn on the conveyor system, and they'll start pulling some uranium over evenly. I think it's only when just a little bit of uranium is being produced by like our refineries that only one of them gets to grab it. So if there's enough, if it's producing more than just one will grab, then I think then the other ones can grab as well. So we could do that. We could even set up a timer that would just occasionally shift these guys to on, so it wouldn't be pulling all the time, but every 5 minutes or so it could turn on and go, okay, pull some fuel and what have you. Okay, so today we're going to work on Molar in a little bit here. I think I have some ideas for further shape and look of this thing. We're going to have more refineries, and I think they're actually probably going to be over here where the medbay is. Let's just see here. I don't know if they're going to be at this height, but what I'm thinking is down the middle. Okay, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, let's do a similar thing, 3. Something like that. And we're out of steel blocks, steel plates. Let's grab a couple here. Okay, so this might be still open, this center part. We might have it like all clear all the way down so you can see underneath. So if that's the case, we'd probably continue the catwalk coming this way. And then over on the side, on both sides, we'd have some more reactors. Or refineries, I should say. Like so. And then we'd have a similar thing on this side as well. It's not going to let me place properly. Gonna run out of steel plates soon. Already have. Give them back. Okay. Like that. Somewhat. So it'd be basically another set of them. Not sure how many, but we'd have a row of them. And then that would replicate on all 4 sides. So what we see here, we would also see here, etc., etc. So that would be our little main floor refinement area. And I'm not sure what we'll have. Maybe some more arc furnaces somewhere as well. And we could even like have this go up somehow, like double layer, almost like a staircase. So we could have maybe like 3 rows of them that just progressively get a little bit higher, or what have you. Try to make it look good and still provide some function if we can. And then, yeah, in terms of replicating this thing, since we did that with Molar, I wanted to try something. First thing, I have been playing around with pivot points in Creative. I asked what's a good way of like moving a pivot point. From what I could tell in Survival, merging to another grid is the best way of doing that, or is the only way to do that maybe. And it seems to be whichever grid is the biggest will determine which pivot point is indeed used. So if you have 2 ships of identical size and you merge them together, I think it's predetermined which it'll always take the one ship's pivot point. I don't know what that's based off. Maybe just whichever one you built first or last, or the original or the copy. I'm not too sure. But if you take 2 duplicate ships and then the one that didn't normally take the pivot block, or take the pivot, and you add 1 block to him, so he has 1 extra block, then that ship will determine where the pivot point is at all times. So this pivot point right here is, I believe, for the station. That one right there we're looking at is for chip. What I would like to do is get this in the middle of our station at least. I'm not too concerned with its height, so whereabouts it lays kind of this way. But I would like to get in the middle if I could. So for instance, if we made a new guy like that, where is it? Okay, it's located right at the tip of the toe. So from my understanding, green is kind of the front, forward, basically, designation. Blue is up, and red is to the right. So if you were to try to line this up with a projector block, green would be the line, blue would be the plus symbol. So what I would like to do is basically, let's basically have it somewhere around here, the new pivot point for the station. So the only way I can think of doing that is by converting it to a ship and making it connect to a new ship that has that pivot point, or even a station. So if we put a station block, we can see wherever we put this, it's going to have blue that way. Okay, so can we actually... We can't change which way is green, which isn't really a big deal, but blue is indeed up. So what we could do is just place a new station block wherever we want it, like maybe even just directly above. So we could go new large station, get it in the middle, put a merge block there, put a merge block down here. We'll convert this to a ship, and we'll merge it up to there. Now the problem being, this is going to be the smallest grid compared to this one. So what will happen if we just do that is this guy's new pivot point will just be this one. So they'll both have the same one, which is the old one. So what we might have to try to do is determine how many blocks this makes up and see if we can simply just add in enough light armor blocks. If it is strictly just whoever has the most blocks will determine who gets the pivot point, then we might be able to just say, if the station's made up of 100 different components or something, various things, refineries, blocks, tubes, whatever. If we make this one out of 101 and then merge them together, I'm hoping that it will keep that pivot point. That's the plan. And then from there, if we have the pivot point in the middle, I have an idea of how to replicate the build and allow us to rotate the blueprint more easily. Like, it's not a requirement to get that pivot point in the middle, but what it means is if we put a projector in the middle of the station and project that, and we just want to rotate it, so we could like have a blueprint of the whole station, and then we just have to rotate it, and it'll always be in line. We don't have to then mess with the offset to get it back in line, like I did have to do for this guy. Okay, makes sense? Maybe. So this guy did a few little changes. I rotated these drills because they were kind of exposing. There was a conveyor tube there that got exposed, and felt it didn't look as nice as if I rotated them. And then I added a little bit of paint job, so he's got a little black face. But otherwise, he's good to go. I did have a crash after the last episode, and I had to redo everything on him. I had recorded mid-episode while I was working on him, because I knew that there were some crashes about. But unfortunately, I didn't save after I'd completed them. So I had to redo the other half of them, which took some time. While I was doing that, I remoted into him. Remoted. And how do you have drills? Chip, reactor, chip. Oh, it's because you're hooked on. I knew that. I knew it. There you go. Take that. Okay. So while he was being welded, I often went into him and... Oh, that's interesting. So if both Molar and Chip are locked into the station, I can't remote into Chip. So for instance, let's do that again. Connector, Molar, lock. Now when I go looking into remotes, you can see that Chip's no longer there. I was wondering why that was happening. Because I've been using Chip for other things. Like if nobody's connected to the station down here, I can actually remote into Chip, and this gives me access to my assemblers and all that kind of stuff. So even though I don't have a remote or an antenna built on the station yet, I can use the small ship ones that are docked. But it seems if two ships are docked to the same station, or the same ship, you can't remote into either of them, but you can remote into one. But I imagine if I did do that, so let's see here. Like I could still access Chip up there, so I guess it wasn't a big deal. And I could go into Chip. I can access all the Chip stuff too, if I need to. Okay, well, anyway, good to know. Mystery solved. It would be nice to be able to remote into all ships, regardless. Maybe that will come. So for the most part, we just have to set up his sensors. So we'll try to do that as quickly as we can and go over it as well as we can. I added in one extra sensor. So he's got the 5 that we saw when we were building him. I also hid one right behind this block right here. So if I got rid of this block, there'd be a sensor right behind it. So what we're going to do is I'm actually going to turn all the sensors on. So I went through this guy and I kind of named everything so that I knew what it was for. And I think I actually do want, so we'll just call him safety. So the way I typically name things, I'll keep whatever it is, sensor, so if you want to look up a specific block, you still can. And then whatever it's going to be used for. Safety, this one's going to be the safety shutdown. So he's going to detect for things, and if Molar gets too close to something, it'll shut it down. And then I've been putting the name of the ship, just so that when we are connected to a station, it doesn't get all spammy, or you can at least identify which parts belong to which ship. And then I'll go, this is part of the MAMS system, which is Morilibus Auto Mining System, which isn't really anything special, just some basic sensor placements and stuff. So that's what we're going to try to set up today. So let's turn all those guys on. They're all set to default, and because I have show on HUD, it's going to show all of that as well. The next thing we have to do is we do have to determine gyro rotations. So 4 of these gyros, I've designated tilt up, tilt down, and all that, but we haven't actually figured out which way they go. So I'm going to turn on this guy, and we're going to do overrides. So I want this guy to tilt up, which means we should see these drills go in that. And I think it's going to be pitch. Yes. Oh, wow, he's kind of close to the thing. But anyway, let's bring him back up a bit. And what's a good rate of rotation? That's actually probably not too bad. So 1.2. So tilt down should be the same. Okay. Because the way I placed him, I do believe this should just go in the opposite direction once I turn it on. Tilt down. Yeah, so now even though tilt up and tilt down have the exact same pitch setting, but they're both going in different ways, that's just because the gyros themselves are orientated differently. Okay, before we damage anything, let's go into remote Molar control, and let's just fly him away from the coupling. Alright, and now we got to figure out the other 2 gyros. So gyro tilt left, except I don't have a very good view of them. Let's do that so we can see the drills. Okay. So gyro, so rotate tilt left. So that means we want this side of the ship to go down. So we're going to turn on override. We'll turn on the blocks. And then this guy, I don't know. It's not going to be pitch, I don't think. The way I placed him. It might actually be like yaw or roll relative to what we did. There we go. So that's tilt left, and that is indeed tilting left. So we'll turn that off. Try to find a good rate of speed. It's probably pretty good. So we'll go 0.09. And then tilt right, it probably is just the other way. I can't remember how I placed the gyros though. So tilt right, indeed the other way. Okay, take that off, go negative 0.09, and that should be, for the most part, our setup. So tilt down, maybe we'll just make it consistent, 0.12. Tilt up, we'll make negative 0.12 as well, or we can make it slightly stronger so that it can override the tilt down. So we might do that just a little bit stronger, see if that's needed or not. The other ones we're going to be using just for the ship, so we don't need to worry about those. Next thing we have to do is link these guys up. So I've enabled these the exact same as the gyros. So sensor, tilt right. And if we bring up the gyro, gyro, tilt right. So I know that that sensor should be linked up to that gyro. So setup actions, when it detects something, we'd want it to activate the gyro. Now I want to be careful when I'm doing this, so let's grab all these, because currently they're set to detect me. I don't want them to detect me. All of them will detect asteroids, except for the safety shutdown. He doesn't need to. He'll probably detect small ships, large ships, stations, and that'll be good. So the rest of these should be okay, and they shouldn't activate unless there's asteroid nearby. So all we do now is tilt right, we find gyro, tilt left, tilt right. So when there's something in range, we want it to turn on the gyro. So if it detects something, it's going to start rotating. And then once it no longer detects it, we're going to stop rotating. So that's what these slots are. The first one's for what you want to be triggered when something enters that field. And this is what you want to happen when something exits that field. And that's the basic setup of the sensor. You can get a bit more complicated by having it activate a timer block and then do a bit more stuff with timer. So we'll probably try to get to that too. But otherwise, let me just go ahead and get all those linked up, and then we'll set up the fields. Now the only one we're going to do slightly different is the tilt down. So instead of turning on a gyro when something's in the field, he's going to actually turn it off. So gyro molar tilt down. If there's asteroid in this field, he's going to turn off this gyro, which basically means he's not going to try to tilt down. And when there is no asteroid in that field, he's going to tilt down to try to find it. So he's going to be built for skimming the surface, not so much for coring through it. And so from there we got...
Energy critical.
Oh, seriously? You couldn't have told me this before I was going to die horribly? Goodbye, world! Goodbye! Anything I can do? Not really. Not close enough to reach anything. Our Medbay can't save us from this.
Your health is low.
Yeah, well, time to die. Let it happen.
Health critical.
Goodbye. You're going to die now. There we go. You have died. That's okay. We can respawn at our fancy new Medbay. New body ready to go. Alright. Alright, let's be a little bit more careful. Why don't we stay inside this guy? So the downside of having this guy as a drone is we can't get inside him to do all this, which would actually make it a lot easier. Hey buddy, how you doing? Did you have anything on you? Technically, here, you get that drill. I'll take that. And goodbye! Farewell. You shall be missed. Goodbye. Whee! Alright. Back to the task at hand. Yeah, it'd be nice if we could just sit in the cockpit, but it doesn't have a cockpit. We could probably just connect him to this ship and sit in this cockpit to do it, but we'll do it like this. So what we'll do, let's go back into Molar. So let's turn off all these sensors for now, because there's way too many to see. And we'll do them one at a time. The other one we got to set up is the forward sensors. For that, we're going to want our thrusters. I went through and I set up... What did I do? Override, Molar. Okay. So these are all of our forward thrusters that we are going to override, and they're currently set to off. And we'll probably set them to some amount of thrust that we'll determine later. Let's make a group for these. So I'm just going to call it the same as the other one. The OR is just for override or overridden, just so I know that they are being turned off and on again. Small forward, small thruster. Zuh. And here we can go, we'll add the MAMS because it's part of the MAMS system. And there we go. So now if we bring up those sensors, forward movement, we could set that up. So the way this one is going to work, why don't we start with him? So let's find our group. We're going to thrusters on. When something's in the field, turns on. When something's out of the field, turns off. Okay, this is kind of our safety guy. This is going to control when this guy basically just moves forward. So all these settings here relate to the sensor. So if we had a sensor in my inventory, let's place one. Okay, somewhere. Sure. Boink. Okay, so with the sensor like that, so how I placed it, with the icon or the access thing on top and the little sensor bar at the bottom, this is considered, and there's writing there that says sensor. So this is the top of the sensor, this is the bottom. This is actually the right side of the sensor. So if you're looking at it, it's the left side. But from the sensor's perspective, it's the right. So it's like the sensor's like this. So this is the right side, that's the left, top, bottom. Front is how far it will extend in front of the sensor, and then back is how far it will extend in the back. And it's all in meters. And a small block is 0.5 meters. So if you had a sensor in the middle of the block, I believe the lowest setting you can set it to is 0.5. That would be half the diameter of a small block. So a sensor can basically, the smallest it can get is a 1 meter by 1 meter rectangle or cube kind of thing, depending. Alright, so there we can see it. It's quite large. We don't need it like that. So we'll go ahead and sensor forward. We're going to keep left and right. We're going to get rid of bottom and top, I think. And back extent, we don't need any. Front extent, we'll probably up that to maybe 15 to start with. And he's already set up for asteroid. So let's take a look at that. That looks a little bit better. So what that means, if there's asteroid in this area, he's going to drive forward to try to find it. What it will also mean, if he ever drives out into space, where there is no asteroid, he's going to go, wait a minute, there's no asteroid there. And then he's going to stop driving forward. And then we're going to use other sensors to determine what happens next. Now, why is that still so far back? I guess that's where the sensor is in this line, is it? I thought it would have been more forward, but perhaps not. That's okay. We could narrow this so that it's only as wide as the mining ship itself, or at least how much it's going to actually mine. We don't need him detecting asteroid over here and flying right past it, because as far as he's concerned, there's something in front of him, but it's actually off to the side of him. So to adjust that, we could probably calculate it. So if we take a block, I don't have any blocks. Let's grab some steel plates. Alright. So we know that this is 0.5 meters, right? So we could measure it in blocks if we wanted to. So right now it's popping out, it looks like 0.5 meters. So that's 1 meter, 1.25 meters. So if we brought it back 1.25, that should bring it snug against this block. We could bring it back just probably 1. So let's go sensor, forward, and so that's left and right. So we had left it at the default. So let's try bringing it down by just 1 meter. And then we take a look. That's a little bit better. And that probably accounts for what the drills can actually mine. So we'll probably keep it like that. Next up is the tilt down. So sensor. Oops, I did not actually remote into Molar. Sensor, tilt down. We could go ahead and show him on screen, and we'll turn that one off. So the tilt down, he's going to be mostly the same. And this sensor is located in the middle of the ship, so these left and right should be the same, and as was the forward motion, so that's why we could get away with keeping left and right. But sensors that are offset on the right side of the ship, we'll have to play with that a bit more. Bottom extend, top extend. We're actually just going to make this guy a very tiny little slit, I think, and see how that works out. And he's set up to detect asteroid as well. And his actions are to turn off a gyro and turn on a gyro. So he's got a backwards kind of setup. What that means is he's going to look ahead. If there is no asteroid there, once he gets triggered, he's going to start tilting down until he finds one. Once he finds an asteroid, he's going to then stop tilting down, and then he should also be within the forward tilting range. So as long as the forward one has a bit of overlap with this tilt down one, he will also drive forward. So that'll prevent him hopefully from doing like unnecessarily circles, trying to almost like orbit an asteroid down here. If he's trying to get at it and he's driving forward but also tilting down, he could never get to it potentially. So having the thrusters shut off while he's doing a tilt down, I think might be beneficial in certain situations. Okay, so let's bring that up again. Sensor, I thought we could bring, why is that so high? Left extend, right extend, top. It looks pretty thick to me. Or am I just looking at it funny? Yeah, this does not look like 1 meter. I swear I used to be able to get them a lot smaller than this. It shouldn't be this tall. Let me try something. Let me just fiddle around, see if I'm just missing something or something is indeed wrong. Okay, nothing is wrong. I think I just thought I could get it smaller. Because the minimum size is actually 1 meter by 1 meter. So we can't actually get it that small. So it defaults. The smallest width we can have it is 2 meters. I think I'm used to working... Last I did this, it was on a large ship, so my scaling is probably all off. So I guess that's correct. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's halfway into that block, and halfway into that block. So the sensor is located like right here. It's basically going up a meter. So 0.5, 1 meter, and then the other way, 0.5, 1 meter. Okay, so that, I guess that's normal. My bad. Alright, so the other sensors we have is the tilt up. So what that is designed to do is prevent him from taking his head off. I did it again. So if we bring up the sensor tilt up, we can leave the tilt off. Well, let's keep that one on for reference. This one we're going to set up mostly the same. Could probably have all that minimized, and we'll just see what that looks like. He's detect asteroids. Left extend 4. He's centered as well, so we could set these the same. And, oops, set he's backwards. That's right. He's facing towards the back of the ship. So sensor, tilt up. So instead of front extend, because front for that sensor is actually that way. We don't want that, so let's bring that back. And instead, let's set it out that way. We'll have to play around with the fields as we go. But essentially what this is supposed to do is keep him on the surface of an asteroid. So he's going to try not to have any asteroid in this area. If there is asteroid here, he's going to try to tilt up to get out of it. So what that should mean is he should just kind of skim through the surface. And this is probably a decent area to do it. He's not really built for this. You'd be better off with more of a squarish design, I would think. But we can make it work. So yeah, whenever there's asteroid here, he's just going to tilt up. So that's what makes him kind of a surface skimmer, is because he always tries to have no asteroid here. So that should just make it so he keeps asteroid in this area and removes it, but keeps it so that he's just skimming the surface. Alright, so the other sensors that are involved are the left and right tilt. What these do is just try to keep this orientation square. So if he were to come at that like this, right, he's going to try to tilt this way until he gets that asteroid out, and it might end all the way over here, and then he'd start going that way. If we can add some rotation instead, he'll come up to this, and he'll actually try to square himself off, and then he'll line himself up, and he'll drive forward. So it gives him a little bit more maneuverability. So for those, I believe those sensors are located on the sides. So you can see where down is. You can see where up is. He's hidden there. Left and right, I believe, are the ones we put on the sides. So we're going to do those. The only trick with these ones is they tilt the opposite way. So sensor, let's do tilt left. So he's tilting left, but he's actually sensing what's on the right side of his ship. So if we turn him on, and let me just see. Right extend, we could probably turn down. Bottom extend, we could probably turn down. Top extend also. Back, and we'll try that. And detect asteroid. So if we did that right, we should have something sticking out the side now. And I guess that's this guy. So, oh, I know why. So the orientation of the sensor is actually like this. So when I said left and right, it actually went left and right for the sensor, but not the way I wanted it to do. So if I go back into him, sensor, tilt left. So instead of left extend, I actually want top extend. And let's just try 5 meters. So that'll stick something out the side now. And that's probably as good as we could do. So what he'll try to do is if he detects asteroid here, he's going to tilt this way. And it might seem a little low, but I think that field will work. Because once he rotates to the point where he detects asteroid on this side, those two gyros will kind of cancel each other out. So he might come up to here and try to rotate like all the way this way to get that sensor out. But before he does, his left sensor is going to detect asteroid too. So he might start to rotate until that left one detects, and then it'll stop, and then he'll drive forward. That's the plan, and see if we can make it happen. Okay, sensor, so tilt left. So what that should do, so tilt left, we saw it was on that side, and it is hooked up to the gyro that we determined was tilt left. So tilt right's going to be the same thing, and I could probably set these up almost identically in terms of their sensor range. So let's just see what I had. 5 is the top, and then the front is 10, and the back we want as short as possible, and that's detect asteroids. And I didn't show that one on HUD. That's the wrong ship. Sensor. Tilt right. Show on HUD. There we go. So he'll do the opposite. So they'll basically, hopefully, yeah, keep him fairly level when it comes to mining some asteroid. And his last thing is just his sensor, his safety shutoff. For now, I don't have anything really set up to do the safety shutoff. What I would like to do is take a timer block. So one of these. So I kind of went through the ship and I named everything too while he's being welded. So we could just take any one of these. And we could go shut down. So this just could be a standard shutdown. Now we could make a group too. But a timer is kind of nice and versatile because you can always change it. Where a group, you might be stuck with either the name of the group or what have you. So for instance, we could set up something to always, it'll turn off all the override thrusters that we're using. Why don't we also make a group? So let's go gyros. Gyros. I know you have gyros. Gyros. So we could do this. We could go molar, gyros, gyros, and then MAMS. So these are all the gyros that are involved in our auto mining. So we could get those going. We could also take all the sensors. So all these ones except for the safety shutdown one, because we don't want this guy turning himself back on. So we can go molar, sensors, MAMS. Okay. And now we can go back to that timer block. And we can do this, set up actions. So we're going to turn off the thrusters. We're going to turn off all those gyros so he stops rotating around like a fool. We're going to prevent him from turning himself back on by turning off all of his sensors. And that'll be good for now. We'll refine it later, and probably his drills, I guess. So we'll turn off his drills. So in this case, we could have just made a group with all 4 of these, because all I'm doing is shutting them all off. But we might want to do other things in the future, like use a beacon or something. So when we shut them down, we could turn on the Mayday beacon if we wanted to. So there we're doing 2 different states. So that's what this is going to allow flexibility-wise in the future. But for now, keep it nice and simple. So now if we go to sensor and we have the safety shut off, we could set up action. We look for that timer block, shut down, and we just trigger now. So he'll instantly trigger that whenever anybody comes within this range. So if we put him on, it's already quite big, but we could just leave it like that for now. It's actually encompassing the ship quite nicely, so it's almost perfect actually. So what we should be able to do now is hopefully send him forward. He might not be completely ready to go, and he might need some tweaking. And I'd like to set up some more timer blocks for starting, stopping, and emergency shutdown and stuff like that. But for now, let's just keep it simple and see if we can get him working. Because we are running out of time. Okay, first off, let's turn off all the sensors so that we can see properly. Yoink and yoink. Good. So currently the... Okay, I'll just turn the ship. The thrusters we are overriding are the ones that are currently off on the arms. So if you look at my little dot, thruster right there, there's 8 of them, 2 on each. Those are the ones we are overriding. The ones I used to override are the ones that used to be in the middle. It used to be right there, but I couldn't set them in as far as I wanted to with that cargo crate. I could still put them in there sticking out further, but figured they'd be a little bit too close to the connector for causing maybe damage and stuff. Oh, look at that. I rotated him in such a manner that he turned on his drills, I guess. Why would you turn on your drills? I don't have anything set up to turn on your drills. That is something we should do. This forward thing, which is currently only doing his thrusters, should also do his drills, I'm guessing. So what we could do with that is Molar, override, and drills. Let's go Molar, forward motion, or just forward, MAMS. And we could actually do thrusters and what else? Drills. Then we know which part is what's made up of this group. Okay, do that. Let's bring up sensor block and let's tilt forward, or forward movement. So get rid of you and instead do that one. And we might, we'll probably change this up too. Some of these I might make into timer blocks so we can add some more functionality. Okay, let's just see if we can get him to trigger. Let's just fly him down. We could go into this view. Once he detects asteroids, that stuff should turn on. But they don't appear to be, and everything is actually off at the moment. So I think the safety triggered, maybe. What is he triggered to do? Oh, station. I might have detected the station to the side and that turns stuff off. I'm not too sure. So let's back him up and see if we can get him going. Okay. Not sure if that's going to work. Let's just give it a go. Haven't tested him enough. But theoretically, he should work. As soon as he detects some asteroid. And we could set up like a launching system where he will automatically just go down until he finds an asteroid and then start doing his thing. Oh, there he goes. Oh god, he's gonna crash. Oh, ouch. Once he started accelerating forward, I couldn't get him to damper. Okay, so his drills should be going, except for the 4 new ones I added are not in that group. Whoops. 1, 2, 3, 4. Save, and let's just manually turn those 4 on. There we go. Now what are you doing? You're not flying forward. So let's play with that. Molar, forward thrusters, forward thrusters. Let's just boost that up. He's trying to tilt, but he's not moving. Okay. Oh, there he goes. So ideally, him being on the surface isn't probably a good idea. Let's go ahead and get rid of the sensors, because they're annoying. Sensors. Sensors. Off screen. Okay. So he should go on his merry way. And he should now see something above him, so he should tilt up, theoretically. And he should keep this part of him, for the most part, on the surface. Now, I don't know how much we want him just going about on the surface, because most of the surface is stone. So he's going to have to dig in before he could do anything substantial. So I think what we should do with him is actually burrow him into the asteroid first, and make him hollow out a little section, probably at the center of the asteroid. And he can just go around and round in the center, and hopefully we can set it up to funnel the ore out of there and bring it to the surface. But look at that. We have him. And if for the most part I think he's working, might need to tweak some things, fine-tune him to see how he handles like odd situations. But we could watch him go over this. This might actually be interesting. We'll see what happens when he gets to the top of this, and then how he comes down the back side of it. So what I would like to do, probably the next episode, is set up the collector. So I want to get that situated under here, and then I also want to get some gravity generators going. So we'll probably try to get that set up in the next episode too. So I'll probably do a spherical one and a regular one to start, and see if that can do what we need it to do. Where are you? I should look for this later. Yes. Yes. Let's go back to Molar. He's gonna do it! Oh, he might actually try to... Ooh. So close. Okay, so there he stopped flying forward. Because there's no more asteroid. Even though there's a little bit of asteroid here, he didn't really detect it. And now I think because his tilt-up sensor is on, because of the asteroid, he's not actually going to tilt down. So having that gyro tilt up being slightly stronger might have been a bad idea. Let's try to make it slightly less, which could cause other problems. But let's just see. Because right now he should try to tilt down, I think. Unless he's still detecting an asteroid. Which may be the case. He might be detecting this asteroid over here. Okay, let's, Molar sensors. Let's turn them on, so we can see what's going on. Let's see. This one is your tilt. This one is your fly forward. Technically, he should be trying to fly forward, I would think. So are you. And some of these drills turned off. Did his safety go? Everything seemed to go except these 4 drills. But the sensors are still on. So anyway, he's got some problems. But we'll work them out. Hopefully get him working. I'll play around with some settings between now and the next episode. And get him a little bit more refined. And try to figure out what happened there. As it's hard to figure that out on camera. Alright guys, well, I believe we will call it here. Another long one. Hope you enjoyed. We'll see you in the next episode. Okay, after not recording, I could see why it stopped. So the one that tells it to move forward is this rectangular guy here that I'm currently in. So this guy here isn't actually detecting any asteroid anywhere. So he's no longer driving forward. And the one that detects in order to tilt down, I believe is still detecting. Yeah, that's this guy. So this guy is detecting an asteroid right here. So he's not tilting down because he still thinks it's an asteroid. And then this guy is the tilt up. So he is detecting an asteroid. And if I had him stronger than the tilt down, he's going to override it. I think a simple solution to this might just be sensor, the forward one. If I bring that a little bit closer to the other one. Do I want top? Forward, back, bottom. Yeah, bottom. So if I bring that up to 2.5, Now it's going to detect that asteroid, and it is going to drive forward, or it should turn on its forward thrust again. Did not keep my group. But now we can see this... Okay, it's hard to tell the boxes apart. But the drive forward box is from here to here. So that creates a smaller dead zone where we could have what happened just happen. And I could increase the forward thrust to be slightly closer. I could also combine them so that they are one, so that one field occupies both. But I thought it would be more handy if it would stop flying forward and continue to tilt down when it didn't detect something. Alright, that'll do. He's still a little stuck, but I think if he was flying forward, for whatever reason he's not, he would be okay. His thrusters are on, but he is not moving. Are you stuck? Go forward, Molar. You could do it, Molar. I believe in you. Remote control. Okay, go. Oh, and he's dead again. See you next time. Oh, fighting the tilt. There you go. Back to work.